Hello, and welcome to ES&E Office Hours. In this edition, Terry Lawson will be interviewing Eric Ekman from Aria Cybersecurity. Before we begin, if you have any questions during the interview, please leave them in the chat, and we'll respond as soon as possible. Also, be sure to like and subscribe for all the latest automation news and learning. Now, without further delay, let's begin the presentation.
I'm Terry Lawson with Electric Supply and Equipment, and I'm here with Eric. He's going to tell us a little bit about Aria and what it can do for your company. So Eric, what is Aria? Is it a service or a software, or what are we looking at here?
People hear the word cybersecurity and they immediately think IT.
Right.
We're an OT solution. We're sitting at the OT level in industrial controls and taking care of the applications that are running on the plant floor. When people hear cybersecurity, you think of firewalls, you think of segmentation, you think of all these very complicated solutions. Right. Ours is the simple answer to, again, protecting industrial applications, making sure they keep running, empowering the controls guys. Whoever's going to have a bad day if that HMI goes down, that's our customer. That's who we protect.
So this is more on, providing a software application on top of an OS.
Yep, we're sitting in the Windows operating systems for your HMI, your historian, your operator workstation, thin manager in the Rockwell world, and we are going to make sure that everything that happens inside of that operating system is under the control of the people that are taking care of the plant floor, and not subject to the latest malware, ransomware, hackers, but also from a contractor that comes in with a USB that's infected, or a laptop that somebody plugs into the network, or a well-meaning IT person accidentally changes some firewall settings and tries to do a Windows update in the middle of a production run.
Okay, so this is more of a zero trust solution, correct? So basically it trusts nothing other than what we tell it to trust.
Yep, once we load it, it takes about an hour and you're ready to go. And basically it's in there running, it's in memory, and it's blocking anything that isn't supposed to be there. So again, patching and all those things are still part of the program, but it's on the schedule of the controls team. It isn't subject to the whims of some other manufacturer or Microsoft dictating when they take something out of service.
That makes sense, because a lot of times we can't update OT workstations the same way we do IT workstations. So that makes perfect sense. So what's its limitations, and where does it fit at inside of your cybersecurity suite? Overall, holistically?
Actually, it was really flexible in terms of architecture. So we usually have an on-site server management platform called Trust Center. Okay. However, that could be in the cloud, it could be in our cloud, it could be in a customer's cloud, it could be in a partner's cloud. We can also deploy on laptops, operator workstation, things of that nature that aren't always connected back to that management console. Right. So it's extremely flexible, but the common denominator is we're sitting in layer 3, layer 2, if you're thinking of your Purdue model, and we're not an enterprise IT tool, we're a controls tool for the production.
Gotcha. So it's specifically geared and designed for OT.
You got it.
Are there any limitations as far as OS versions? I know a lot of the OT has older equipment such as Windows XP.
Yeah, that's part of the sweet spot for us, is that we're one of the only vendors that can go all the way back to Windows XP. Okay. So we can cover all the way from Windows XP up to the current, and we're recording this in September of 2025. In October, Windows 10 is going out of support as well. So It's now going to be all the way back up to Windows 11. So we have a lot of customers out there that are running Windows 10. They're not on the OT side of the house ready to upgrade to 11. And so they can put us in. We'll take care of all the protection, even though you're not getting patches and support from Microsoft anymore, to keep those legacy applications running, because we do still see XP and 7.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, there's a lot of older versions out there. Sounds like a really good way to get some security where there's kind of a gap there, so to speak, especially in older operating systems, and IT's not maintaining those most of the time anyway. But if they are, at least you have the ability to go in and manage those updates, it sounds like.
Yep. Simple management console. Again, some of the more complex cybersecurity solutions require people to go off to some sort of boot camp or get training for weeks, or it takes weeks or months for the implementation. When you add up the installation process and the training requirements for a controls person, not an IT person, it's usually less than 2 hours.
Wow, okay, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, and so it's instantly on, you're protected. And again, it's designed for the controls group to be able to maintain. Now, if IT is involved, they're very happy with the solution as well, because they have tools that are more tailored to that enterprise side of the house, where there's a lot of internet connectivity and things of that nature. We can operate fully air-gapped. We don't need to be updated ever. Once you install my software, it will protect you from any new variant of attack that comes along, because what we're doing is running in memory and looking for the fundamental techniques that underlie all the various attacks.
Okay. Back to the zero trust model, it's like we're only going to trust, Aria is only going to trust what we tell it or what you tell it to upon installation to allow certain things to happen, and that's it.
It's an automated, the term is allow listing, and it's an automated allow listing tool that at its heart is working just as you described with the zero trust. But the other secret sauce that makes us unique compared to everybody else is we have something called a reactive AI engine, and that's a series of countermeasures that are, again, targeting these fundamental techniques. Like privilege escalation, for instance, is a very common thing where they come in with a user credentials, and then they try and raise their credentials to admin so they can mess with things, and we block that instantly.
If there are changes that need to be made, as far as, let's say there's new software installed on the XP, Windows 10, Windows 11 workstation that needs to be whitelisted, how would that happen?
Sure. So in the setup, when we're doing the setup in conjunction with our partners and our customers, we're going to basically set up what's called work groups, and then specific rules around certain applications. So you may have vendors like your Rockwell customers, for instance, may want to automatically trust updates from Rockwell without going through the rigmarole. So there's a lot of tools that are very easy to use. It's a checkbox. Slide this back to detect mode is what we call it, and then do a patch or do an upgrade. Slide it back to protect mode once it's done. But again, we can also in advance set up certain sets of users. So for all of your operators, we'll have a similar scenario and what applications can run and what can't. And so it's all set up in advance. But if you need to adjust on the fly, it's a very simple user interface.
So you talk about detect and protect. What are the different modes that are available, and what would be the use case scenarios for those modes? You've kind of told us about kind of like put it in detect mode to do certain things, but what are the different modes that are available, and where are the instances where we're going to use those, or the customer would use those?
The core two, detect and protect, and I'll go into those in a second, but then there's also underlying those countermeasures, and you can set up work groups or users with specific countermeasures turned on or off, depending. So there's a lot of flexibility there, but at the high level, detect mode means that we are running in memory, just as we would normally. We're alerting you when we see something anomalous, but we're not blocking it. During the installation process, we'll typically run in detect mode for a few hours, maybe a few days, just to make sure we're not getting false positives. Because one of the real challenges with folks that take enterprise tools and apply them to the OT side is they get a lot of interruptions to the operations of those applications because they're chatty. We recognize this, and so again, as part of our process, we don't have the false positives that a lot of the other enterprise tools might. Once you're comfortable, you slide over to protect mode, and at that point, we are doing the full blocking of anything that pops up inside of that application. Again, whether it be some malicious actor from outside or some well-meaning person internally that clicked the wrong button.
Yeah. Or stuck in a USB that wasn't supposed
to. You got
to.
it.
So let's say, for example, we wanted to do, IT said, hey, we got to push out these Windows updates. We could have two different work groups where you would have, let's say a Windows update work group where you could drop those in there just, for a short period of time and able to get those updates and then move them right back to their another work group, like a protection work group, where it was automatically back on, correct?
You got it. So if you're in a production run and you definitely don't want to be doing Windows updates, so you keep those set, but maybe there is a group that you can update. So again, extremely flexible.
Right, it seems like it, yeah, it's very flexible. So this really fits a niche where you don't have protection. Otherwise, there's a lot of other systems and protections out there for cybersecurity on the OT side, so this kind of fills that gap, really. Yeah,
we fit with a defense in depth strategy, so we don't conflict with other firewalls or network segmentation tools or secure remote access. There's an awful lot of things that fall under that bucket of cybersecurity. But what we do, we're just going to sit at those endpoints. If by some chance somebody breaks through all those things, or again, you get that contractor with the bad, bad USB or whatever the case may be. We're the last line of defense. We're going to make sure that production is not interrupted, and all the patching, all the upgrades, they're still done, but they're done in a schedule that makes sense to the guys that have to keep the production floor running.
Yeah, because there's a lot of companies and a lot of corporations we deal with that have a specific week or a month within the year that they have downtime, and that's really your only time frame that you can update certain things, so it makes perfect sense. So how well does it play with things like Clarity?
Yeah, no, we work with them all the time. Because they're a very OT-centric tool as well, we see them in a lot of their customers. Our deployments are a little bit more simple because, again, it's just a few hours. So they're a more complex tool that has a lot of bells and whistles. We love Clarity. We work really well with them. We don't conflict with them. We don't even conflict with, there's folks that have other, what we call endpoint solutions that are also working in operating systems.
Such as CrowdStrike, things of that nature.
CrowdStrike, Windows Defender. We work in conjunction with those guys too, because all of those other vendors, this is, I guess, an important distinction, all of those other vendors are looking for something called signatures or indicators of compromise or behaviors. So they all need to know what the attack vector is so they can create an approach to block it. Kind of like if you think about how our pharmaceutical companies work, with new virus comes out and they need to create an inoculation against that specific attack. We operate the exact opposite of that. Because we are looking at the fundamental underlying techniques, we don't need to know anything about it. It could be a brand new approach that nobody's ever seen in the world. We're going to block it, and it's going to get by the other guys because they need to create something new. So the other thing that we can block that most of them won't is what's called a supply chain attack. So this was, SolarWinds was a famous one a few years ago.
Absolutely.
CrowdStrike, another one that was kind of last year. One was an actual hack. SolarWinds was a Russian hack that got into the update. CrowdStrike was a mistake, unfortunately, that they made. But in either case, what happened is these were software updates from known vendors. So everybody, every end user in the world would have approved it because we know that SolarWinds isn't going to give us something bad. Well, the first step in the kill chain is what we call it, is that in both of those scenarios, they were looking to get out of the network. And we blocked it right from step one, whether it be SolarWinds, whether it be CrowdStrike. So our customers were immune to those sorts of attacks. So again, if you're relying on behaviors and signatures and all that, would have gotten by all those things.
Right, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So it's a really good model, it sounds like, to really protect you from the unknown as well as the known.
That's exactly right.
So is there a minimum as far as a customer's interested in Aria and they want to get their foot in the door? What's your minimum requirements as far as licensing?
It's single operating system. Our customers base, we go from very small rural water and wastewater where they're literally running a single instance of our solution, up to one of the largest multinational pharmaceutical companies that's running it in all of their factories all over the world with 20,000 plus agents.
Wow, okay.
So literally from the smallest of the small to the largest of the large. It's an annual subscription. I say per operating system because a lot of people will say per endpoint or per device, but there's things like virtualization where you have multiple, 15, 20 operating systems on a single machine. So it's per operating system. Every time we drop our agent into a Windows or Linux operating system, that's one license, and it's an annual fee. But we have customers that buy, we have one of our water and wastewater partners is including this anytime they put in an HMI or even a billing system. And they're including 5 years right up front. That way people don't have to go get renewals.
So let's say, going back to the virtualization, let's say they have a Windows or a ESXi hypervisor. How would that be licensed for the hypervisor versus the VMs? Would it be licensed per VM? Or?
Per VM.
Okay.
Yep. Again, it's got to be Windows or Linux, so we're not gonna be at the hypervisor level.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. As far as working with Rockwell, at what level? I'm assuming you guys are partners with Rockwell. So tell me a little bit about that and when that started.
Well, that was actually something that was really attractive to me. And when I heard that Aria was already accepted as part of the technology partner program, that really got my attention because that's a really high bar. Right. And so they've got billion-dollar companies, Cisco, Clarity, Fortinet, and all these very large entities. Why would they want somebody like Aria, relatively unknown, to be part of that program? And the answer is, we do something nobody else can, and we do it in a way that nobody else does. And so Rockwell saw the value, and they thought that we're filling a gap in this technology partner program. We bring something, we don't conflict with any of the other vendors. We play really well with them. And all of our solutions go together really well, including the Rockwell solutions like Verve and some of the other cybersecurity things that they have on their own. And so we're just happy to be part of that ecosystem. We don't conflict and play well with others is how I describe it.
That adds a lot of value, especially to our end customers that are primarily Rockwell and Allen Bradley. So, well, I appreciate your time, and if you're interested in talking about or having us come out, Eric or I, coming out and talking to you about Aria or having a phone call discussion about Aria, we're more than happy to do so.
Sounds great, absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Terry.
That concludes this edition of Office Hours. If you'd like more information, please reach out with the information listed in the description. Thank you.